Hey y'all, I'm James Wright. Welcome to my shop. The humble router plane is an amazing tool that's even useful to the power tool user. However, it's got one big downside. This plane originally sold for $4, a great deal back in 1900. However, nowadays, this plane in this condition is around $120 to $130. You might be able to find a rusted one with one cutter for around $80 to $90. But if you're looking for a metal one in good condition that has full functionality, you're not going to find them too much cheaper than that. And if you want them new, good luck. Now the nice thing is, if you want a router plane, all you have to do is get a board, drill a hole through at a 45-degree angle that's slightly smaller than your chisel, and jam the chisel in there. And it actually works relatively well. And if you want to see more on that, go check out Paul Sellers. He has an amazing video on the poor man's router. The problem with it is because there's no way for the chips to get out, it clogs up really quickly and you can't see where you're going because it's underneath the blade, and it just has a lot of other issues that make it difficult to use. Not to mention, if it's not sized perfectly, the blade has a tendency to back out as it's used. But if you're in a tight jam and you don't have a router plane, it works amazingly well. When I got into the sport of hand tool woodworking, you could actually pick up a decent router plane with one cutter that's in good shape for around $50 to $60. You could find a hunk of junk one for around 20 bucks. And that was fantastic. But then 2020 happened, and a lot of people got into hand tool woodworking when they had some extra free time. Which is really good, except that meant that a lot of people were buying up tools. I know that will surprise a few people, but honestly, yes, the big increase in hand tool prices is more due to the amount of users getting into it. A lot of the collectors are aging out and dying, and they're actually causing prices to come down a little bit in some places because they're selling off their tools. The really expensive, high-end, rare tools aren't worth as much as they used to be, whereas the new users, they're actually worth more, which is kind of counterintuitive. Getting back to the cheap router plane thing, how can we do it affordably but still have full functionality? About 9 years ago, I made a series of router planes, and I was kind of experimenting with different ways of holding the blade and adjusting it, and trying to find something that would actually make an affordable kit that I could sell. But everything I was trying wasn't quite working out. My initial idea of how to hold the router plane blade was to use an eye bolt. You would slide it over and then use this to pull it back into the wood, and this would secure it and would have one nut. Kind of like how the original Stanley did it. You have one nut to loosen it up. It's one of those things that sounds like a great idea, but honestly, this is very difficult to create. Yes, you do have to drill one hole rather than two, but that hole needs to be perfectly aligned with the center of the blade. And then you're also creating a weak spot because the hole you're drilling is right where the hole you're creating for the blade is. And it makes everything sloppy because you then need to remove even more material for all of this head to fit back into the wood behind the blade. There's an easy solution though. Swap out the eye bolt for a U-bolt. This would go around the blade and pull it back, but then it just feels odd because you have two nuts you need to move. I thought, who cares? Let's give it a try and see what happens. And I absolutely love it because you actually only need to loosen one of them in order to adjust the blade. You actually just loosen one, and because it's rounded on the front, it moves enough for the blade to slide up and down, but not so much that the blade falls out. And so it's a really easy way to loosen the blade without loosening it too much. And I actually like having the two in there. There's some benefits to it, and there's some downsides in that it looks kind of odd having two there, but having two is just as easy as one. Oddly surprising. All that is great and all, but the cheapest blade I could find at the time that I could put in there was $40. Now, yes, I could try and make my own by getting Allen keys and grinding them down, or actually paying someone to make them, but the price would actually be a little bit more than $40 each if I made them in the small quantities I'd be selling them at. So unfortunately, I kind of gave up on the idea for a while because I couldn't find an affordable way to do it. The prices were all going to be around $60 to $70 or more, and at that price, at that time, you might as well just go buy an antique. It's far cheaper. Ooh, then Rockler started selling these for 20 bucks a piece. I was over the moon. 20 bucks for the blade? I could actually get the price down. This is going to be great. And so I started experimenting with how can I actually get this Rockler one to work because it's different. You see, the original Stanleys had a diamond format, whereas the Rockler ones are square. And that's part of the reason why they can make these more affordably, because square is easier to produce than the diamond. And I almost went out and bought a bunch of irons and hardware to start selling kits. And right around that time, Paul Sellers and my good friend Rex Kruger started selling router plane kits. Yeah, you know what they say about great minds? They all think about selling router plane kits at the same time. And all three of us didn't talk to each other about it. We all just kind of had the same ideas. The market needs router plane kits. Prices were starting to go up. More people were wanting routers. And so all three of us were seeing this trend and realizing we should do something about this. But I was the slowest of the three. In that case, I thought it probably wouldn't be wise for me to start putting out my kit right after the other two started selling theirs. So let's put it on the back burner. Rex's router plane was incredibly affordable. It was just a block of wood, an iron, a nut, and a bolt. And they were all off-the-shelf stuff except the iron. More than half the price of the kit was the iron set he was selling with it. But even with that, it was incredibly affordable. And then there was Paul Sellers' kit, and this is a fully functional plane. Really nice, everything you need for the loosening and adjustment, and it even has multiple places so you can extend it in further. This is a really nice plane, and I honestly don't know how he can sell it for the price he's offering on it. Just honestly, really, really good. So if I started to sell mine, it would look bad, and it really doesn't have a whole lot that these don't offer. I bought both of the kits, made both the kits, I've used them quite a bit, and now they're actually part of the class that I have here in the shop. So if you come take a class in the shop and you need a router plane, you may end up using one of these two. But I've been making dozens of these, experimenting with different things and different hardware and finding where I like different items on these router planes. And when these three router planes are all sitting out here, the one I reach for is this one, because it's slightly more functional. Let me show you why. Number one, if you're using a straight iron that goes down at a 45 or 50 degree angle, the problem is the tip then ends up being way down in there and hard to see. And the farther you extend it down, the farther it is forward. And you actually have to remove a good bit of material or hog out more material or make a really big hole to work with. And the other problem is if you don't have anything in front of the cutter, it actually becomes hard to start it because there's nothing supporting the front. You have to kind of come and work in at a weird angle, and then once you get it stabilized, you can come in from the other side. Not a huge issue in either of them, but just enough that I don't grab one of these. I reach for this one. Because of that L-shaped cutter, I can move it all the way up and down and it stays in the same spot so I can always see where it's at. And because of that, it's got this huge space in the front. I have no problem registering the front for when I need to start a cut. Not to mention it's easy to adjust. You just loosen up one side and then you run the nut up and down to adjust its height, just like the original Stanley. The hammer adjusting is a bit scary to some people, but honestly it's not that hard. And especially with a router plane where you're not moving it side to side, you're just advancing it forward and back. It actually is very, very easy to do with this. And the more I played with it, the more I realized that this design does have a place in the market. And I honestly really like this design. It's not to say it's directly better than one or the other, but this one fits my style. This one most definitely fits Rex. It's affordable, it's easy to get into, and most anyone can make this. This one is very much Paul Sellers, and that's one of the fun things about woodworking is everyone has different styles. They all have pros and cons and different things that they like. And this one was really singing to me, and I wanted to put it on the market because I know if it sings to me, it's probably going to sing to someone else. But there was another problem. These blades had a slot in the top that you would use to adjust them up and down, and I couldn't find a nut that would fit into it just the way I wanted. This slot actually has a little bit of variability in it, and every time it's cut, it changes thickness slightly. I did find these. They're odd-shaped nuts that most of the time will fit in there, but sometimes they don't fit in there, and they're ever so slightly too big and won't fit in the slot. Now I could sell the kit with these, but then I would have to tell people, hey, you might have to come in with a file and grind off the surface of yours to make sure it fits into the iron. Or you may get lucky and it just slots in there. But because this slot varies a little bit, you never know. And I didn't want to sell something with that kind of variability of, oh no, it may work for you or it may not. And so I took it to a bunch of machinists saying, hey, this is what I need. All I needed was a simple nut that was knurled on the outside and could fit into that slot. 1/4 really simple, right? But I'm not going to be selling that many kits. I'm probably only going to need 50 to 100 of them. And every machinist I talked to in that range was going to sell me these for $15 to $20 each. A nut for $15 to $20 each. There's no way I could sell that. Most machinists will not take on a job for that small of an order. And so we're back to where we are. I'm not selling the kit. But things changed again. Actually, Rex ran into problems. Sourcing these blades is incredibly difficult. And if you ever tried to actually sell things and manufacture items, finding these blades and finding them at an affordable price is almost impossible. And I give him kudos. He's tried all sorts of things, but this actually came off the market, and that's why you can't buy Rex's kits anymore, because sourcing those blades has been an absolute nightmare for him. And so there's an opening in the market. Maybe if I could find someone who could make that nut at an affordable price, we could bring this to market. So I started asking around. And then Tony Rouleau, yeah, that guy, you know, the guy who makes amazing tools. He makes some of the most beautiful bevel gauges and block planes, absolutely gorgeous. And he said, yeah, I can actually make those for under 10 bucks a piece. Let's see what we can do. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, he sent me a bunch of these. And finally, after almost 9 years of working on it, I can bring this kit to market. And I absolutely love it. Let me show you its features. You can buy the kit with just the hardware or with the wood, and it comes with the U-bolt, both thumb screws, the specialty nut, the hanger bolt, and the blade, all for an affordable price tag. And it uses an L-shaped cutter so you can see it no matter how deep you go. A normal depth adjustment system so you can loosen it and move it up and down just the exact same way you would on a Stanley 71. Some people will say that the L shape is a little bit harder to sharpen than the straight iron, and honestly I don't see that much difference. Let me show you what it does. I've seen two different methods of sharpening these. Number one, this people think is the bevel and this is the flat. But if you treat this as the flat, then you never have to touch it. You just do the bevel. And all you have to do is put it on here flat and then slide it back and forth. Don't put all your force at the top or you'll be tipping it around. Just have it weight down here and slide it back and forth, and it sharpens really easily. If you do want to touch the bevel, just slide over to the side here, flip it upside down. Again, don't put your force back here, just have it up here on the top and slide it back and forth. Go up through your grits like normal, and it really is no different than sharpening this just like a chisel. It's not the exact same, but I think that being able to see it and making it easier to use is far more of a benefit than the slightly easier to sharpen this. Now here's where I have to throw my hands up and say stop. I am not dissing Paul and Rex. I love what they do, and I still use these from time to time. I pull them out and use them in videos because I like experimenting and playing with different things. The difference is that different people like different things, and some people are really going to like the hammer adjustability of this. Some people really want to have the full functionality, but they want the ease of sharpening. Some people like to be able to see what they're doing, and that's really important. And different tools have different spots where they fit in with different people. And I'm really hoping that Rex can find a new supplier for his cutters, because the affordability on this is incredible. But the nice thing is, until he comes back out with that, I can say my kit's the most affordable one. Well, until he gets his blade back. Or as long as you're living in the US, because it's cheaper to ship this from the UK to somewhere else than it is the US to somewhere else. So all of that to say, yeah, that's why the Wood by Wright router plane is coming on the market, because there's an opening for it. And I personally really like this system. And if you don't, great. Go buy Rex's, go buy Paul's. I'm even going to put links to theirs in the description down below. If you want to buy mine, fantastic. If you want to buy one of theirs, fantastic. Figure out what you want to do and do what you want to do. Don't follow some YouTuber out there that says, this is the best way. Have some fun. Enjoy life and experiment. So I hope you like that. If you have any questions, thoughts, ideas, snide remarks, please throw those down in the comments down below. I do like reading through those. And I'm looking forward to seeing some of your thoughts on this. What should I do differently? What should I try? What should I experiment with? Because let me tell you, I have made dozens and dozens and dozens of these, trying different methods and different U-bolts and different sizes. And this has made me happy. But there's probably something out there that I didn't think about. I'm like, oh yeah, I should have used that. Let me know down below. Thank you. It does help out the channel. And if you'd like to help us out even more, think about becoming one of these people over here. Those are some of the fantastic, wonderful, benevolent, gorgeous people over on Patreon. And without patrons, I wouldn't have the time, money, and experience to go out and make a whole bunch of these to test the different systems. So thank you, patrons. Without you, we wouldn't be here. So on that note, I do want to say thank you for coming, and until next time, have a wonderful day. The greatest feature, though, is it's got carving. And that means it's good at skiing down a hill. I do wonder which route we should take down this hill.